When we put together The Walking Dead, I think one of the great things for us was that horror wasn't really on screen. There was a little bit on network in a very sort of episodic way, but there wasn't a serialized horror show on television, and that was sort of a great opportunity for us where we felt like there was a market need that had been validated by the fact that zombie shows as movies had been doing really really well for years. Horror as a genre was doing incredibly well in theaters, so we knew there was an audience of people that would go and turn out on a regular basis for horror, but there wasn't an opportunity for them in television. So we thought that there was a great opportunity for a really great serialized, character-driven, emotional drama that happened to have zombies and horror in it. So for us, finding that window was critical. We think if we were a couple years later, we wouldn't have been successful. And honestly, I think we were lucky that we weren't a couple years earlier because I don't think yet that the market had matured to a place that it would have accepted us the way that they did when we launched. The Walking Dead has evolved. I think one of the keys to the success of The Walking Dead is the evolution. So that the show right now, and as we're about to go into season 6, is a very different beast than it was in season 1. It's no less compelling, and in some ways, it's more compelling. The characters have deepened, the story's evolved, but the visceral reaction that you get in season 6 is very different than what you got in season 1. Season 1 is a journey of discovery, understanding how the world is going to evolve. There's a fear as to sort of what's going to happen, what's going to come next. In season 6, we kind of know what the landscape looks like. We don't know where the next threat or the next evolution of the threat is, but we know we no longer live in the world that we did. And so there's, Robert Kirkman always talks about The Walking Dead as the zombie movie that never ends. So we're in reel 52 of this ongoing zombie movie. And the great thing about this is it gives us an opportunity to tell another amazing character-driven story in Fear the Walking Dead. We get back that initial moment of fear, that initial moment of anxiety, that initial moment of dread that comes in all the best zombie movies. We get to revisit that with an entirely new set of characters, an entirely new location, entirely new circumstances, and see things that we didn't get to see in the original. And that opportunity for us was the only reason that we thought this was compelling to tell this story. And we felt that we had to tell this story. And when we found that, when Robert Kirkman and Dave Erickson came up with that approach, we're going to find that window into this world. It was like, yes, that is a story that has to be told because it stands entirely apart from the experience you get from watching The Walking Dead. But at the same time, it gives us something new and it gives us a complementary as opposed to a replacement for the show. So we're hoping that this gives people that love season 1, this will give you that same sort of sense of excitement, but in an entirely different way. Well, I think, trying to find the right window for a property is incredibly difficult. And, a lot of times you just get lucky when it happens. For us right now, we're about to launch a show called Outcast. It's coming out on Cinemax. And what we did is we looked at the marketplace. We said, okay, we now know horror has been validated in the marketplace between us and American Horror Story and The Strain and Bates. There's a lot of horror shows out there. But what's not being done? And Possession had been done as cases of the week on shows like Supernatural, and it had been incorporated into other shows, but it hadn't really been done as an ongoing serialized show. And again, we looked to we looked to movies, and we saw that in movies. Movies like The Conjuring were doing phenomenally well, small budgets, big results. Exorcism of Emily Rose, that there's a huge percentage of the American population and the world population that believes that demonic possession and exorcism is real. It's something crazy. Like 64% of Americans believe in demonic possession, and something about 70% of the world believes in demonic possession. Nobody believes in zombies. Maybe there's like 1% of people, maybe out of Haiti, that sort of believe that zombies is like a thing, but no one really believes the zombies that we have are sort of a real threat. A lot of people believe in demonic possession. So we said, okay, well, how do we do it so it's not what you expect? We're not just recreating The Exorcist. We're not just recreating Exorcism of Emily Rose or The Conjuring. We said we need to find a character hook. And I think the genius of what Robert Kirkman came up with is that this is a story about somebody wrestling with their own demons, right? Sort of the inner struggle that goes on and the challenge that comes with being someone who's been marked or been touched, blessed or been cursed. And that character journey is one of those things where if there were no demons in the show, if there was no possession in the show, watching Patrick Fugit play Kyle Barnes and deal with his own inner struggles would be compelling drama in and of itself. And that's always the mark for us, is if we stripped out the genre element, do we still care about these characters? Do we love these characters? Do we want to watch them? Are we upset when these guys see defeat? Are we excited when they sort of get success? And if the answer is yes to that, well then great, we have a show that's worth telling, and we can layer in a genre element on top. That's just fun, and that gets the fanboy in both he and I. So, I produced this movie that came out in January called Spare Parts. It's a movie I'm incredibly proud of. It's a beautiful movie. It's a uplifting, inspirational, true life story. It's a story every year there's an underwater robotics competition put on by the government. It's usually won by teams from Harvard or the Navy or MIT. And in 2005, it was won by 4 illegal high school immigrants from Arizona. And these guys sort of came up over immense odds. The leader of the group ended up wanting to enlist in the U.S. Army to go fight in Iraq. They deported him, and he went to Mexico. Wired magazine wrote an article about him. Dick Durbin went to the floor of the Senate and got him admitted as the poster child for the DREAM Act. He came back in after having been in Mexico for a year and enlisted and went back to Iraq for two tours. And that story to me is inspirational. It's a story that demands to be told. And I think we made this little movie. It was with George Lopez, Jamie Lee Curtis, Marissa Tomei, Carlos Cruz, and it was this fantastic movie. And audiences loved it that saw it, right? We had a 90% cinema score. So it's like, you just don't see, with 8+, 97 points, you just don't see that type of thing. We did about $6, right? I mean, and so I know we made a great movie. I know it's a movie that I'm proud of. I hope that it has a long life, but it's ultimately didn't connect with audiences at all in terms of on a marketing perspective. But everybody who saw it loved it. So it's both a win. We got it made. We told a good story, but no one really ended up going to see it. So that was sort of disappointing. Even though we ended up having screening at the White House, we ended up having screening at Capitol Hill. Hopefully it'll be influential in some way and get the message out. But, so when that happens, that's disappointing. But at the same time is getting to see something like, hey, we're going to go tell a zombie story, and on this little channel that's known for telling a story of Madison Avenue, right? And it comes out and 6 million people watch the first episode, which is 3 times the ratings that they've ever gotten on any other show, was crazy. So that was just a huge swing, a huge success, and was amazingly empowering and exciting. The thing is, it's like, you know what? You try to find stories that you want to tell, that you believe in, and you hope other people will like it. But I feel for me, what I try to do is I don't try to chase the market, right? I still have to lead with what I think is interesting, what I think is powerful, what I think is a good story. And I love Spare Parts. I thought it was a great thing. I love The Walking Dead, don't get me wrong. But if I had a chance to make Spare Parts tomorrow, knowing what the outcome would be, I would do it again. I would do the same thing again because I thought it was a great thing. And so I will always be compelled to tell stories that I think are interesting to tell. The best tip that I can give to an up-and-coming producer is a tip that I got when I got to town from John Davis, who I think is a legendary producer. John Davis was on a panel, and he said, anything is possible. And I was like, okay, what do you mean anything is possible? He's like, anything's possible. There's no movie that's impossible to make. I don't care if the budget's too big, you find a way to do it. I don't care if you can't get the movie star to do it, you find a way to make the movie anyway. You can get it done. Just, you move forward. And it was sort of very reminiscent of Dustin Hoffman in sort of Wag the Dog. It was like, you know what, you're making the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, one of the horsemen drops dead, you keep going. You just keep going. And I feel like ultimately it sounds a little strange, but you have to will it to happen. And if you don't believe that your project's going to get made, nobody else will.